What if I told you that just 30 minutes a day could completely change your life? Not 6 months, not a year, not a 5-year plan, just half an hour, every single day. At first, it sounds too simple to be true. Success, after all, is often described as this massive, complicated mountain that only the talented, the rich, or the lucky can climb. But what if the mountain could be conquered by small, steady steps, taken for just 30 minutes a day? This was the strange secret Daniel stumbled upon. Daniel wasn't special in the way people often define success. He wasn't born with money. He wasn't a genius or a star athlete. In fact, most of his life, he felt ordinary. He would scroll through social media, watching others his age building businesses, writing books, creating art, or traveling the world, while he was stuck in the same routine: work, eat, sleep, repeat. Inside, though, he had dreams. He wanted to write. He wanted to get fit. He wanted to start a small business. But every time he tried, he would quit within weeks. His excuse was always the same: I don't have time. Then one night, he came across a clip of Mel Robbins speaking. She said something that stopped him in his tracks. Change doesn't come from doing big things once. It comes from doing small things daily. Just 30 minutes of focused action every day can change your life. At first, Daniel laughed. 30 minutes? That wasn't enough to do anything meaningful. But then he thought about it differently. 30 minutes a day adds up to over 180 hours in a year. What could he build in 180 hours if he actually stayed consistent? The idea seemed almost too simple, but something inside him whispered, try it. So he made a decision. He wouldn't try to overhaul his entire life at once. He wouldn't force himself to work for hours every day. He would start with 30 minutes. Just half an hour, no matter how busy or tired he was. It was a strange secret, yes. But it felt like a secret worth testing. And what happened next would completely change the way Daniel thought about success, and about himself. Most people don't fail because they aren't smart enough, talented enough, or even hardworking enough. They fail because of distraction, procrastination, and inconsistency. And the truth is, this is the struggle every single one of us faces. Daniel knew this struggle too well. His days felt busy, but at the end of each one, he realized he hadn't actually done anything meaningful. He would tell himself, I'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow never came. Like many of us, he confused being busy with being productive. Answering emails, scrolling social media, binge-watching shows, all of it gave him the illusion of filling time, but deep inside, he knew he was just avoiding the real work. And he wasn't alone. If you look around, most people live like this. They have goals in their minds but excuses on their lips. I don't have time. I'm too tired after work. I'll wait until the right moment. The problem is, the right moment never shows up. Daniel had always wanted to write a book. He bought journals, notebooks, even special pens, but each one stayed blank. He told himself he needed long hours to sit and write, and since he never had that kind of time, he never started. His gym shoes gathered dust in the corner, a reminder of all the fitness goals he talked about but never pursued. He even had a business idea written down in a folder on his laptop, untouched for 2 years. One night, after a long day, he sat scrolling endlessly on his phone. Hours slipped by, and when he looked up, it was almost midnight. He felt guilty, frustrated, and angry at himself. That was when he remembered Mel Robbins' words. Just 30 minutes of focused action daily can change your life. Something clicked. His problem wasn't lack of talent. It wasn't lack of opportunity. It was lack of consistency. He was waiting for perfect conditions that never existed. And that's when Daniel asked himself a life-changing question. What if instead of waiting for the perfect day, I just gave 30 minutes today? It wasn't about doing everything at once. It was about starting small, and showing up. The truth is, everyone struggles with the same thing, starting. But once you start, momentum begins to build. And Daniel was about to test it for himself. The next morning, Daniel decided it was time to stop talking and start doing. He set a simple rule: no matter what, he would dedicate just 30 minutes a day to one dream, writing his book. At 7 a.m., he sat down at his desk with a cup of coffee and opened a blank document on his laptop. For a moment, he froze. His mind screamed, what if it's not good enough? What if you fail again? That's when Mel Robbins' 5-second rule came to mind: count down from 5 and just act. So Daniel whispered to himself, 5-4-3-2-1, go. And his fingers began to type. The first sentences weren't perfect. In fact, they were messy, awkward, and scattered. But here's the important part: they were written. For 30 minutes, he let go of perfection and just focused on getting words on the page. When the timer went off, he looked at his screen. He had written nearly 2 full pages. It didn't seem like much, but for Daniel, it was everything. He had taken the first real step toward his dream. The amazing thing was how he felt afterward. Instead of guilt and frustration, he felt proud. He had proven to himself that he could do it. And for the first time, he realized success wasn't about giant leaps, it was about small, steady steps. That day, something shifted inside him. He didn't need to wait for motivation. He didn't need to carve out hours. He just needed 30 minutes. Over the next week, Daniel kept his promise. Every day, before work or after dinner, he carved out half an hour. Sometimes he wrote a lot, sometimes just a little, but he always showed up. By the end of the first week, he had written 14 pages. Then he began applying the same rule to other areas of his life. He gave 30 minutes a day to exercise, just a brisk walk or push-ups at home. Slowly, his energy increased. He gave 30 minutes a day to learning about business, reading, watching tutorials, taking notes. Within weeks, his knowledge grew. At first, people around him didn't notice. But inside, Daniel was transforming. He felt more focused, more confident, and more alive. All because of a simple habit, just 30 minutes a day. It wasn't easy, but it was simple. And that made all the difference. Weeks turned into months, and what started as a simple 30-minute daily practice began to create ripple effects in Daniel's life. At first, the changes were subtle. His mornings felt calmer. His energy improved. He no longer ended the day feeling guilty or stuck. Instead, he ended it with pride, because he knew he had invested at least half an hour into his future. By the 3rd month, Daniel had written over 100 pages of his book. Think about that, 100 pages from nothing, achieved in just 30 minutes a day. That same man who once complained he had no time was now closer to finishing his dream project than he had ever been in his entire life. But it wasn't just the book. Daniel's consistency spread into other parts of his life. His 30-minute daily walks turned into short runs, and before he knew it, he had built the stamina to jog 3 miles without stopping. His body grew stronger, and so did his mind. Even his relationships improved. Why? Because Daniel's self-respect was growing. He was no longer the man who made promises to himself and broke them. He had become the man who kept them. That shift is powerful. When you trust yourself, when you show up for yourself, your confidence skyrockets. Daniel noticed he spoke with more certainty at work, he carried himself differently, and people started to treat him with more respect. It wasn't luck. It was the natural result of showing up daily. And the best part? Daniel realized it didn't take huge sacrifices. He didn't quit his job. He didn't abandon his responsibilities. He simply committed to 30 minutes a day. But those 30 minutes were sacred, non-negotiable. Of course, there were days when he didn't feel like it. Days when he was tired, busy, or uninspired. But he learned the secret: you don't need to feel like doing it, you just need to start. By the time his timer hit 10 minutes, momentum carried him through. Months later, Daniel had completed the first draft of his book, built a fitness routine, and started mapping out his small business plan. All from a simple, consistent habit. The transformation wasn't about talent, luck, or even time. It was about discipline and respect for himself and his dreams. And that's when Daniel finally understood: success isn't an accident. It's built in daily, deliberate choices. 6 months later, Daniel hardly recognized the man in the mirror. The tired, frustrated, and stuck version of himself was gone. In his place stood someone sharper, stronger, and more confident. His mornings began with energy, his evenings ended with satisfaction, and most importantly, he finally respected himself. The book he once dreamed of writing was now complete in its first draft. Every page carried proof of his consistency. He was healthier than ever, exercising daily, and he had even lost the weight he had complained about for years. His small business idea, which had collected digital dust on his laptop, was now alive. He had started building it piece by piece, fueled by those daily 30-minute sessions. But the biggest transformation wasn't just in what Daniel achieved, it was in how he thought. He no longer searched for the perfect time to act, because he knew it didn't exist. He didn't wait for motivation, because he understood motivation comes after action, not before. He had mastered the secret that so many people miss: success isn't built in hours, it's built in minutes. And that's where Mel Robbins' message became real for him. When she says, just give 30 minutes a day to your dream, it's not just advice, it's a formula for change. Because small, consistent action compounds into massive transformation. Daniel realized something else, too: people often admire results, but they ignore the process. Friends and coworkers began asking him, "How did you do it? How did you change your life?" They expected a complicated answer, maybe some new productivity hack or secret shortcut. But his reply was always the same. "I gave myself 30 minutes a day. That's it." The truth is, anyone can do this. You don't need to quit your job. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You don't even need motivation. All you need is the discipline to carve out 30 minutes daily and protect it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. Daniel's story proves that when you respect yourself enough to show up every day, everything else begins to fall into place. Dreams stop being dreams. They become goals. And then, they become reality. So the question is, what could your life look like 6 months from now if you gave just 30 minutes a day to your dream? The secret to success isn't hidden. It's right in front of you. Start today.